Greetings, everyone. Once again, it's brother Mota Mwenedi sharing the authentic truth brought to us by Zulula 100. Here, the message I'm going to share is going to be: is polygamy authorized by God? Because many people practice polygamy. Some people will try to say in their argument, when they will try to justify that act, that practice, they will say that the prophets, they will say that the patriarch, they will say that the biblical personage, characters, practice polygamy, so it is also authorized for them. That's the argument that they will use. But we shall see if it is authorized by God. And we will go in the current classical day Bible. And then later on, I will give the verse in Bibel Klatambale, the book of the truth, the only authentic Bible without any errors or contradiction. Because you're told in Proverbs 19:2, the lack of knowledge is not good for any spirit of man of the original race. And also in John chapter 8, verse 32, and you will know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. So, when we go in Genesis chapter 4, verse 19, in the current classical day Bible, in the King James Bible, you're told, and Lamech took unto him 2 wives. Column. The name of the one was Ada, comma, and the name of the other was Zillah. So here, Lamech is the first person on earth in the visible plane, the first person from the visible physical that practiced polygamy. And there was an entity, you have to understand, that was behind, that pushed him to practice polygamy. And Lamech is a direct descendant from Cain. And in Genesis chapter 4, verse 24, you're told in the King James Bible, and Lamech said unto his wives, comma, Ada and Zillah, comma, hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech, hearken unto my speech, for I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt. So here he's saying, hear my voice, hear my voice, hear my speech, hear my words. Not hear the word of God, and not listen to God, listen to the words of God. No. But he says, listen to my voice. And you're told here that he says, I have slain a man, so he killed someone. Who did he kill? Here we will not reveal who Lamech killed, but it is revealed in Bibel Klatambale, the book of the truth. So, when we go in Genesis chapter 16, verse 1 to 4, this is regarding Agar and Ishmael. And so Agar and also Abraham, and Agar, Abraham, and Sarai. In Genesis chapter 16, verse 1 to 4, you're told, now Abraham's wife Sarah had borne him no children, but she had an Egyptian maidservant named Agar, period. So here it is according to the current Bibles. So you're told, so this is verse 2. So Sarai said to Abraham, look now, the Lord has prevented me from bearing children, period. Please go to my maidservant, semicolon, perhaps I can build a family by her. So here Sarai offered Agar as a wife to Abraham. So she accepted the notion of polygamy because you're told, and Abraham, so this is still in verse 2, and Abraham listened to the voice of Sarai. Verse 3, so after she had lived in Canaan for 10 years, his wife Sarah took her Egyptian maidservant Agar and gave her to Abraham to be his wife. Verse 4, and he slept with Agar and she conceived, period. But when Agar realized that she was pregnant, she began to despise her mistress. So here Sarai accepted the notion of polygamy and she gave Agar as a wife to Abraham. So it was polygamy. Whatever the reason, the excuse, the intention, it is still polygamy. and there is a spirit behind. And that spirit touched Lamech. Some will say that because they've accepted polygamy, so here Sarai and also Abraham, does that mean it is authorized? Some will say it is authorized because the patriarch and the matriarch, some accepted that notion. We shall see. In Genesis chapter 28, verse 18 to 28, you're told. Genesis chapter 29, verse 18 to 28, you're told. And Jacob loved Rachel and said, I will serve thee 7 years for Rachel, thy younger daughter. Period. So here it is regarding Jacob, who went to his uncle Laban. And he loved Rachel, so his cousin Rachel. And he said, I will serve thee 7 years for Rachel, thy younger daughter. And Laban said, it is better that I give her to thee than I should give her to another man. Column, abide with me. So Laban agreed. He says, yes. And Jacob served 7 years for Rachel. Semicolon, and they seemed unto him but a few days for the love he had to her. Verse 21, and Jacob said unto Laban, give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled, that I may go in unto her. Verse 22, and Laban gathered together all the men of the place and made a feast. Period. Verse 23, and it came to pass in the evening that he took Leah, his daughter, and brought her to him, semicolon, and he went unto her. Verse 24, and Laban gave his daughter Leah Zilpah, his maid, for a handmaid. Verse 25, and it came to pass that in the morning, behold, it was Leah, and he said to Laban, what is this thou hast done unto me? Did not I serve with thee for Rachel? Wherefore then hast thou beguiled me? Beguiled me. Verse 26, and Laban said, it must not be done in our country to give the younger before the firstborn. So here you have to understand that Laban accepted the proposition. He accepted, he said to his nephew, yes, serve me 7 years and I will give you Rachel. But when the time came, you have to understand that deception took place, where he deceived Jacob. He brought Leah instead of Rachel. And then later he says in verse 26, and Laban said, it must not be so done in our country to give the younger before the firstborn, period. But he did not say that in the beginning. That was not the agreement in the beginning. So he deceived and he accepted the notion of polygamy. Verse 27, fulfill her week, and we will give thee this also for a service which thou shalt serve with me yet 7 other years. Verse 28, and Jacob did so and fulfilled her week, and he gave him Rachel his daughter to wife also. Verse 29, and Laban gave to Rachel his daughter Bilhah his handmaid to be her maid. So, Jacob was in love with his cousin Rachel. Jacob asked for Rachel, but behind a spirit of deception, seduced Laban, used Laban to trick and to give another of his daughter to Jacob as a wife. So first, it is a spirit of trickery, of deception that came. And we know the one who deceives is Satan. So there is there are two spirits that works together in this teaching. Regarding this teaching, regarding polygamy, there's first a spirit of deception that will first seduce you, deceive you into accepting that and believing that it is okay, it is authorized to practice polygamy. So once you're seduced, once you're deceived, then because you'll say, oh, the patriarch, the matriarch, they also did it, they practice it. So that means it is authorized. So you've already been deceived. And then once you believe that it is approved, you accept it, then the spirit of polygamy come and pushes you to have many wives. In 2 Samuel chapter 12 verse 8, you're told in the King James Bible, "And I gave thee thy master's house and thy master's wives unto thy bosom, and gave thee the house of Israel and of Judah. And if he had been too little, I would moreover have given unto thee such and such things." New King James Version, "I gave you your master's house and your master's wives into your keeping, and gave you the house of Israel and Judah. And if that had been too little, I also would have given you much more." So here, according to the current Bibles, it is the supposed Lord that said that I have given you your master's house. So that was regarding to David. And here that spirit, that Lord, says that he has given your master's wives. So plural, many wives. And some will say, will use this passage to try to justify, and say that this is the passage that proves that the God of the Bible approved polygamy. That God approved polygamy, that polygamy, it is authorized. First, that entity, that spirit, that Lord cannot be of God, cannot be God. Because even in the current Bibles, you're told no one has ever seen God. And second, an entity that comes from the Creator cannot say such things, cannot say, I have given you many wives. An entity that comes from the Creator doesn't approve polygamy. God himself condemned polygamy. Christ as well. And also the apostles. 2 Samuel chapter 5 verse 13, King James Bible. "And David took him more concubine and wives out of Jerusalem after he was come from Hebron. And there were yet sons and daughters born to David." So Abraham had many wives. So he practiced polygamy. But Isaac only had one wife. The sons of Isaac, they had many. Why did Isaac only had one wife? You have to understand is because the wife of Isaac completed him. She had everything. She was spiritual. She was initiated. She knew. And she had a knowledge that you cannot imagine. That's why she could not tolerate polygamy. She knew the law. Two Chronicles chapter 11 verse 21, King James Bible. And Rehoboam loved Maacah, the daughter of Absalom, above all his wives and his concubine. For he took 18 wives, and threescore concubine, and begat 28 sons, and threescore daughters. In other passages, there will be contradictions regarding the numbers. In 1 Kings chapter 11 verse 3, and he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wife turned away his heart. So this is regarding King Solomon. New Heart English Bible. He had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 secondary wives, and his wife turned away his heart. God's Word translation. He had 700 wives who were princesses and 300 wives who were concubines. So you have to understand that these concubines were also wives nevertheless. So Solomon had many, many wives. He practiced polygamy. Many patriarchs practiced polygamy. Is it because many of them practice it that it means it is authorized? No. 2 Chronicles chapter 13 verse 21, King James Bible. But Abijah waxed mighty and married 14 wives and begat 22 sons and 16 daughters. Isaiah chapter 4 verse 1, King James Bible. And in that day 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Column. Let us be called by thy name, to take away our reproach. So here in Isaiah, you're told that 7 women, so in that day 7 women shall take hold of one man, and they will say, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Let us be called by thy name. So they only want the name. So you see the spirit that is behind. Deuteronomy chapter 21 verse 15 to 16. It says, if a man have 2 wives, one beloved and another hated, So why would a man have 2 wives, hate one, and love the other? You see, that makes no sense. How are you going to have 2 wives, but you don't love them? Verse 15, if a man have 2 wives, one beloved and another hated, and they have borne him children, both the beloved and the hated, semicolon, and if the firstborn son be hers that was hated, verse 16, then it shall be, when he maketh his sons to inherit that which he had, that he may not make the son of the beloved firstborn before the son of the hated, which is indeed the firstborn. So you see, because when a man will have many wives, when there will be polygamy, some will be happy, some women will be happier than others. Others will be mistreated. Others will be sad. You see, where is the justice? Matthew chapter 25, verse 1 to 2. At that time, the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. Period. So, here in Matthew chapter 25, verse 1, you're told, at that time the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins. So, and some people will try to take this type of verse and they will say, you see, the kingdom of heaven is like 10 virgins, so that means God approved polygamy. That means Christ approved polygamy. Verse 2. 5 of them were foolish and 5 were wise. Now we will go in the future of that kingdom of heaven. In Revelation chapter 21, verse 2, it says in the New International Version, I saw the holy city, the New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, comma, prepared as a bride, beautifully dressed for her husband, period. You see? Because in Matthew chapter 25, verse 1, it says the kingdom of heaven is like 10, will be like 10 virgins. So 10 women. But when we go in the Revelation, when we go in the future of that kingdom of heaven, in Revelation chapter 21, verse 2, in the Revelation, it is one woman that we see. That's why it says, Revelation chapter 21, verse 2, I saw the holy city, comma, the New Jerusalem, comma, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride, singular, one bride, not many, beautifully dressed for her husband. So the notion of polygamy is completely false. It is not approved. Now, did Christ contradict himself when he says, according to the current Bibles in Matthew 25, that the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins? No. The true Christ does not contradict himself. It is the fake versions that contradict themselves. It is your fake Bible that are in contradiction. In Revelation chapter 21, verse 9, New International Version, you're told, one of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls full of the 7 last plagues came and said to me, come, I will show you the bride, the wife of the Lamb. You see? The bride, singular, one bride. The wife, one wife of the Lamb. So, Matthew chapter 25 is a parable. In the Revelation, it is one woman. Matthew chapter 22, verse 29 and 30, it says, verse 29, Christ replied, you are in error because you do not know the scriptures or the power of God, period. Verse 30, at the resurrection, people will neither marry nor be given in marriage. They will be like the angels in heaven. So the polygamy is not from the Creator. It's not from Loba, the only and unique Creator. So the entity that supposedly appeared to the people in the Old Testament, the supposed Old Testament, or in the current Bibles, to give people wives or condone polygamy, it is not from, those are not entities from Loba. So, the entities that appear to people in the Bible saying you can have many wives, that notion is completely false. Those are fake versions. Genesis chapter 2, verse 18. It is not good for the man to be alone, period. I will make a helper suitable for him. I will make a helper, and not many helper, but a helper, and not helpers. Suitable for him. One helper, not many. Proverbs chapter 18, verse 22. The man who finds a wife finds a treasure, and he receives a favor from here the Lord, from God. So, in Proverbs 18, verse 22, you're told, the man who finds a wife, so one wife, finds a treasure. So that's the law. That's the scriptures. And when we go in New International Translation, NET Bible, New English Translation, the one who finds a wife finds what is enjoyable, comma, and receives a pleasurable gift from the Lord. New American Bible, to find a wife is to find happiness. To find a wife is to find happiness. A favor granted by the Lord. So if you have many, if you choose many, that means it is not from the Lord. So even according to the Korean Bibles, it is one wife. Genesis chapter 24, verse 67. And Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent, and took Rebekah, and she became his wife. And he loved her. Column. And Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. So, if you truly love your wife, you respect her, you have the respect, the complicity, you wouldn't want another one. 2 or 3, no. The polygamists, the people who practice polygamy, is because they like sex. So, one is not enough for you. You have to have many. Like Solomon, searching perfection everywhere. Because the polygamist, what is it? Is because they will find something that attracts them in one woman. One, it can be the face. She has a beautiful face. And another one, it can be the forms. And another one, it can be her smile. Another one, it can be the hips. And so on. So they will always look for something. Because even regarding Solomon, all his wives were beautiful. but beauty that differs from one to another, right? There's differences. So, it can also be for some, when it can be for a polygamist, he can be attracted, can be the hair of the woman. Another one has another type of hair, or a different smile, a different face, different type of beauty that he's looking for. So he's trying to fill a sort of hole, he's trying to find perfection. And you have to understand simply that people that practice polygamy is because they like sexual intercourse. They like sex. And behind, there are demons that inspires people to practice that. Why didn't God made, according to the Korean Bible here, many women wives for the first man? You see? The Creator made one woman for the first man. And that woman was complete. She was perfect. And if another woman came, he wouldn't even go to her. That man wouldn't go to her. So, polygamy is forbidden. It is an abomination. The apostles, the saints, forbid polygamy. 1 Timothy chapter 3 verse 2, King James Bible. A bishop then must be blameless, the husband of one wife, vigilant, sober, of good behavior, given to hospitality, apt to teach. New Living Translation. A church leader must be a man whose wife is above reproach, whose life is above reproach. He must be faithful to his wife. So here, in 1 Timothy chapter 3, verse 2, a church leader must be a man whose life is above reproach. Period. He must be faithful to his wife, singular. Now, some people will say, well, that is only regarding the church leader, that's only regarding a bishop. When we go in the New International Version, you're told, now the overseer is to be above reproach, faithful to his wife. The overseer. And what is an overseer? A person who oversees others. A person with supervisory responsibilities. A person who supervises others. So here you have to understand that in the teaching it is not regarding the bishops in the Vatican or in the Catholic Church. No. In Hebrews chapter 10 verse 24, let us attentively observe one another. Observe one another. So when you observe one another, that means you're overseeing one another. You're supervising one another. So all those who walk according to the verb, according to the word, they are also overseers. observers. They are also supervisors, because you have to watch one another, right? You have to, in King James Bible, let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works. So, an overseer is somebody that supervises, that observes. And you're told in Hebrew chapter 10, verse 24, let us attentively observe one another. And you're told that the overseer, so the person who observes one another, who observe the others, must have a wife. That's what he says in 1 Timothy chapter 3, verse 2. Faithful to his wife, the husband of one wife. Matthew chapter 19, verse 9. New International Version. I tell you that anyone who divorces his wife, his wife, and not his wife's, his wife, except for sexual immorality, and marries another woman, commit adultery. King James Bible, and I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another, committed adultery. So, if you have one wife, then you marry another one, it is adultery. It is cheating. It is polygamy. It is forbidden. Malachi chapter 2, verse 15. So guard yourselves in your spirit, and do not break faith with the wife of your youth, with the wife, singular. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 20. Each person should remain in the situation they were when each person should remain in the situation they were in when God called them. So this verse here in 1 Corinthians chapter 7 verse 20 says that each person should remain in the condition, basically in the situation they are when they were called. New Living Translation. Yes, each of you should remain as you were when God called you. And you have to understand that's completely false. Those are fake translations. Because if you were a cheater, does that mean you still keep cheating? If you are a thief when you were first called, does that mean you keep stealing? When we go in Revelation chapter 22, verse 15, you're told, outside are the dogs, those who practice magic arts, the sexually immoral, the murderers, the idolaters, and everyone who loves and practices falsehood. So, if when you were first called, you were a murderer, you were practicing magical arts, you were in idolatry, does that mean you keep practicing those things? Because in Revelation, you will be outside. You see? So people will try to take some verses that they don't even master, that they don't even understand, to try to justify their abomination. English Revised Version. Without are the dogs and the sorcerers and the fornicators and the murderers and the idolaters and everyone that loved and make it a lie. Because some people will say, no, if you are that means if you are polygamist, when you are first called, you're not supposed to stay in that situation of sin. One Corinthians chapter 7 verse 2, New International Version. But since sexual immorality is occurring, each man should have sexual relations with his own wife, and each woman with her own husband. King James Bible, nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, singular, and let every woman have her own husband. 1 Corinthians chapter 7 verse 3, the husband should fulfill his marital duty to his wife, and likewise the wife to her husband. Genesis chapter 2 verse 24, therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. His wife. New International Version, in Matthew chapter 19 verse 4, haven't you heard, he replied, that at the beginning the Creator made them male and female. Contemporary English Version answered, don't you know in the beginning the Creator made a man and a woman? And Isaac knew that. He knew the law. Behind polygamy, there are demons at work. Demons with excessive sexual appetites. Now, that was in the current class of the Bible. And I will give a verse in Bibel Kalatambale, the book of the truth. Because some people will try to use some verse in the current Bibles saying, oh, it is not forbidden. I've demonstrated, I've shared some verses, the verses where the scriptures, the text, the writing says what is authorized, what is according to the word is one wife, one husband. So the notion of polygamy is not approved by God, even according to the current Bibles. The passages where they will say the Lord came and says basically condone polygamy, they are completely false. Now in Bibel Kalatambali, the book of the truth, when we go in Biala Deuteronomia chapter 5 verse 27, and I will translate here, it says, every man, whatever his rank, issued only from the physical world, will have the right to have only one wife. I repeat. Every man, whatever his rank, issued only from the physical world, will have the right to have only one wife. And when we go in Kalata Bato Badwala, chapter 1, verse 381, it says, a man must not marry and have several wives, because polygamy is an abomination. So, that was the message, that was the teaching. Polygamy is an abomination, it is forbidden. It's not because some patriarch practiced it in the past that means it is authorized. No, it is forbidden. And the law prohibited is clear in Bibel Kalatambali. So that's the truth. Those who practice polygamy is simply because they like to have sexual intercourse, they like sex, they have excessive sexual appetites. They are possessed, influenced by demons. Is that simple? That was the message, that was the teaching. All glory be to Loba, the only and unique Creator.